Right on. Can everyone hear me back there? Raise your hand in the back. Can everyone hear me? Good?
Anybody? Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me, everyone? Okay.
Thank you. All right.
The event will begin in 5 minutes.
Hafaday, Zantiro, and good evening to everyone. Welcome to the 2022 NMC Town Hall Forum. I'm Belul Solomon.
And I'm Adam Walsh. We hope that over the course of this program, you'll learn more about the candidates and what they hope to do for the future of the CNMI.
As we move forward, I'll start by explaining some procedures for the forum, which each candidate received ahead of time. Both candidates will have 2 minutes for an opening statement, 3 minutes for a closing statement, 4 minutes to answer each question, and 4 minutes to answer any follow-up questions. The timekeepers will be sitting in the first row. Candidates, when there is a minute left on your speaking time, the timekeeper will hold up a card that says 60 seconds, indicating that you have 60 seconds to finish your answer. At 30 seconds, the timekeeper will hold up a card that says 30 seconds. At 15 seconds, the timekeeper will hold up a card that says 15 seconds. So please wrap up when you see the stop card. If you continue speaking after the stop card is held up, either moderator gives a verbal gesture and moves on to the next question. If the speaker continues past the verbal gesture, a 15-second deduction may be given for the following question. Personal references about other candidates are out of order.
Please note the cameras at the back of the room. This forum is being broadcast live and can be accessed on the official NMC Facebook and YouTube page. Videos and photos are allowed from the audience with the exception of flash videography and flash photography. Please remain quiet throughout the forum, no clapping, cheering, or calling, with the exception after closing statements. The questions for each topic were randomly formulated and predetermined prior to the event. Each candidate will receive 1 question per topic. Questions have been collected from the NMC student, employee, and faculty population. All of the questions have only been reviewed by the Town Hall Forum Committee, which consists of the ASNMC officers and the appointed moderators. Questions will be presented by selected members of ASNMC. After the candidates answer a question, the members of the table and only the table will have the opportunity to ask a follow-up question to the one answered. Again, after the candidates answer a question, the members of the table and only the table will have the opportunity to ask a follow-up question to the one answered.
We will now start with the opening statement of the candidates. You have 2 minutes for your opening statement. Candidates, your time starts now.
I have the opportunity to choose who will continue to lead the Commonwealth. As your governor, I stand by my record of accomplishments. There's 2 things I'm most appreciative about this forum. 1, you get to hear from me, your governor. And 2nd, you get to hear the future Lieutenant Governor, Senator Vinnie Sablan, without any misinformation or innuendos from any other opponent or any other candidate for that matter. It is my great honor to introduce Senator Vinnie Sablan.
Thank you, Gov. Just a little disclaimer, I'm coming off a code, so if a cough sneaks in, please excuse me. Hafaday Tiro, buenas noches, and good evening to everybody that's present here with us and all that are watching on the media outlets. It's great to be with the NMC faculty, students, the regents, and staff. I'm Vinnie Sablan, and I'm a proud NMC alumni. Not only myself, but my family is a family of proas. My wife is a graduate from the NMC nursing program, went on to become a midwife, first credentialed midwife. My daughter graduated from the NMC program and now is the 2nd local credentialed midwife. And they are mother-daughter duo walking the halls of CHCC. My kids sitting there are going through the programs at NMC, so we're proud NMC alumni. I look forward to all the dialogue tonight, the questions where we can share concerns, ideas, and solutions. And I'm really excited to get this night going. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates, for your statements. Now we will move on to the question and answer portion of our forum. The first question has been given to the candidates prior to the event, and the question is, what are your plans for giving immigrants who don't have U.S. citizenship or a green card the chance to receive financial aid so they can enroll in the Northern Marianas College and earn a degree? Your 4 minutes starts now.
Thank you for that question. We all know that we have a scholarship program, CNMI scholarship program, in addition to a SHEFA scholarship program, and also all the federal assistance programs for our students. We do know that there are students that have to be legible, right? This morning, I sit on the Senate panel of the government investigations and the executive appointments. We had in front of us the board, the chairperson of the board for the CNMI Scholarship Office. I did ask that question, and they were there to support. What we need to do is we need to go back to the statute. The statute governs who is eligible for CNMI scholarships. What we need to do, and we put this on the table this morning, is we have to redefine the term residency. We have to redefine what that means. And when we go back to the statute and we put that into the CNMI scholarship statute, we can build a program that would allow the government to appropriate money so that we could fund these students that do not qualify or are ineligible. So this is one of the conversations we had this morning, and it's only fair that our residents and our students that call the CNMI home avail of this benefit, not only the U.S. citizens and our indigenous people. We know that the foreign workers have come here decades ago and helped build this economy. They've helped build and develop what we have now today. So it's our turn, and it's a good gesture for us to return that back to their children and their grandchildren. So we're looking at the statute and the language and redefining what a resident means. And we'll work with the Torres administration and see that that's done so that we can give the students a fair scholarship award. Thank you.
On top of what Lieutenant Vinnie we've always been supporting all education. I believe that an educated community is a priority. That's why when NMTI opened up, there's a lot of students that wasn't qualified for scholarship. So what we did is we actually amended the scholarship program and added those students to go to NMTI, because we need to support all of our students, no matter what institution. That's why tonight, understanding that we do need to have an amendment in order for scholarship to give that funding. However, I think that I'm willing, and I'm vouching, to give $100,000 to NMC Foundation, and I hope that you, through the foundation, is able to assist students who is not qualified for other scholarship program. And I think in this way, we are able to cover all the gaps in between students that call CNMI home. With the $100,000, it'll go a long way, not just for this semester, next semester, but also the hope that anyone that calls CNMI home, there is a place for you. And that is a place where you start smart and you start NMC. I've been working very well with NMC, and I look forward to see them grow and prosper. And I believe this is one way to assist our NMC student, especially those that are having challenges financially.
Thank you, candidates. Table, are there any follow-up questions? Okay. We will move on to the next question pertaining to the topic of education.
Good evening, candidates. The question is, access to free feminine hygiene products in schools could help student learning and engagement, alleviating the financial pressure and stress that goes along with menstrual cycle. Let me repeat the question. Yeah. Access to free feminine hygiene products in schools could help student learning and engagement, alleviating the financial pressure and stress that goes along with menstrual cycles. What plans do you have to help these students? Your 4 minutes starts now.
Thank you for that question. I'm so happy that you asked that question. My daughter is sitting there right now looking at me smiling. And it was about 4 months ago when she said, Dad, I have an idea, and I want to offer the young women at school these necessities for their menstrual cycle and everything that they need so that they can learn and be comfortable. The plans that we have, or what I could think of right now, is really to educate our young women. And we have professionals like my daughter, my wife, and other healthcare professionals in the women's healthcare arena that could come and really give tips and advice to our young ladies. I know that a lot of times it's a topic that they don't like to ask questions about. They don't feel comfortable around many people really sharing this. But if we provide our young students, our young women, the platform and the stage for them to come to professionals of women's health, so that they could learn and get advices, to really carry on into their educational journey and learn what they need, learn where to go when they go through a phase as women, and to just be comfortable and really acknowledge that there's help out there and there's information and there's people that are willing to talk to them and let them tell them how how they should move forward to be comfortable and to learn and stuff like that. There are, we all know there are some students that are less fortunate, right? And they don't have the means to have or to buy these necessities. So that's another thing we can work with the administration and work with the leaders and the government to make sure that we can fund such a program so that we can provide these comfort necessities for our young women. Thank you.
I think this is a very sensitive topic, right? For two guys talking about it. I remember when my mom said, enjoy your daughter's her age, because once she becomes an adult, things change. And for me, working with a nonprofit organization, because it's very sensitive when you go to school. You don't want to be portrayed like, oh, she's getting certain assistance for this. But working with the counselors, saying, hey, there is program for you for all the students, and here's funding. I'll happy to assist on those funding. But I think working within the schools, within the counselors, identifying and working with the teachers, and teachers having that one-to-one interaction with students, say, hey, in case you do need something, there is things that the counselor can provide. Or talk to the students what they need, and let's work with nonprofit organizations. Let's work within the students. If you need certain funding, make that a priority within PSS and have that program make a special request, and I'll be happy to support that. But I think if PSS come out with a program, work with the students along with the counselors and identify the students, then we can go ahead and assist the students accordingly.
Thank you, candidates. Table, are there any follow-up questions? Okay. We will now move on to the next question pertaining to the topic of the economy.
Candidates, your next question is, as more and more CNMI youth become entrepreneurs by opening small businesses, how will your administration assist these businessmen and women? Your 4 minutes starts now.
Wow. First, I want to congratulate all those entrepreneurs. I think this is the best time to make an investment here in the CNMI. Not only that you see and you're willing to make that investment, you actually tell other people, other countries, other investors around that as a youth, I'm willing to take that risk to make this investment in the CNMI. I have a boost program. That's $10 million. We're giving money to Rhoda, Tinian, and Saipan. This program assists not just the current investors, but entrepreneurs. And I want to just say a story. In Rhoda, there's called Green Gold, I think, a family that does calamansi. And they grow, I think, 100 trees, and they spend time together as a family, and they'll harvest and they'll ship it to Guam. But just the whole thing about young entrepreneur making it a family business. For me, we will continue, not just the Boost program, but making their permit a lot easier and support what we need as a community to support that entrepreneurship. We need to make an investment and spend our money to those locals that calls my home.
In addition to that, we do have some programs in the government. There's one house up at NMC right now, the SBDC, right? Small Business Development Center, if that's what that means. Then we have in the government, we have CEDA, right? And these are agencies and programs and resources for those business management, business administration graduates from NMC, or even those that are not going to post-secondary schools, but just want to move into entrepreneurship. There are resources out there to guide our young entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs in general on the steps on where to go and how to build up and have startup funds for their businesses. They extend to even writing a business plan and just putting your whole portfolio together. So there's current and ongoing programs right now. What I'd like to see and what I would like to do, if given the blessing in the Torres Sablan administration, is have the successful corporations, successful business owners come up with something like this, a town hall meeting, and reach out and open up and share their experiences, how they got successful in their business path, how they started, where they came from. And from those experiences, our new entrepreneurs can really get real life advice and really kind of make the right decisions to direct their entrepreneurship journey into the right direction. So working with what we have now and then coming up with creative ideas and really working with the businessmen, businesswomen, and corporations and small businesses now that are around our community is one way for us to really offer our new entrepreneurs the guidance they need to succeed in their business ventures.
I understand how small business works. This is what runs our economy, is the small business. So the more small businesses we have here, the more successful each and every one here. And that's why we will continue to make sure. And I really like the idea of having a caseworker, perhaps at CEDA, work with this entrepreneur and work with them and see what would work on their type of business and perhaps get other business within that corporation, but work with them individually. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Table, are there any follow-up questions? Okay. We will now move on to the next question pertaining to the topic of healthcare.
Candidates, the question is, studies have shown large disparities in physical and mental health outcomes for our indigenous Chamorro and Refalawash populations. For example, 80% of completed suicides are from Pacific Islanders, with 60% of them being Chamorro. What are your plans to safeguard the physical and mental health of our people? Your 4 minutes starts now.
Thank you for that question. I think what's important is we have to build capacity, and there is a Senate bill introduced by the Senate President, Jude Schneider, which provides a scholarship for all students and applicants that are wanting to go into behavioral health and mental health programs. From here, we can build programs to really reach out to our community. We live in a day and age where our kids and our people are exposed, through phones and all the technology. We went through just a recent pandemic. We went through the devastation of these super typhoons. All these experiences really roll up into a ball, and it gives us those stresses, and it really affects our mental health. But if we build capacity and we also support all the nonprofit community organizations that really look into that avenue with mental health, this way we can get together, see what everyone needs, and really build a creative program. One could look at working with abusive homes, right? One could look into drug use, and this all affects mental health, right? One could look into a simple thing as budgeting, family budgeting, right? So that parents can provide for their kids, right? And we see there's some unfortunate students, they have mental health issues. But if we can work with our hospitals, work with our counselors and PSS and NMC to have these professionals on campus so that our students can avail of the service and avail of the advice from them, that would help curb the mental health issue. And most importantly is just to really spread awareness and have their peers. As students, it's really easier to listen to your fellow students and your classmates and your peers, opposed to really going up to someone on a higher level and talking to them about their issues. But if we have these campaigns and we have these programs in place, I'm sure that we can get across to those that are suffering with the mental health issues.
I think also there's a lot of factors that comes with mental health. There's drug abuse relation, there's physical, sexual abuse relation that comes in. We have a lot more nonprofit organizations out there that contribute to this kind and help foster this throughout the community. Our HOPE program is one. It's a substance program that would never happened before, but we created that. Our 2 hours a week in the government to have that mental health awareness or physical health exercise. Because I know that every one of us have our different challenges at home. But if you take that 2 hours every week, paid by the administration, to take care of your health, that's 2 hours less for you to work out at home, and you can take that 2 hours and spend time with your family. And so these are the things that we will continue to foster, more relationship within the government, private sector, and have these kind of activities, and perhaps more activities for families to get together and avail of these programs.
Thank you. Table, are there any follow-up questions?
The disparity seems to be predominantly for indigenous peoples, although they are a minority. How will your administration tackle these specific groups? Your 4 minutes starts now.
I think what we can do first is come up with, really seek the data, come up with the numbers through the schools, starting from the elementary schools all the way up to the high school level and into the post-secondary level. Look at where we need to put a lot of our efforts on, right? For us to build the program, to build programs to really answer this, I'm gonna call it an epidemic, mental health, because it's really risen above and it's become a priority for all societies. But what we need to do and what the Torres Sablan administration will aim to do is to get the needed data and look at where and how and why our indigenous people or these populations are going through what they're going through. There has to be a trigger. Something has to be the reason why they're going through these mental health issues. It's not just there because it's there. And for us to build an effective program, we have to know what these reasons are. And if we could pinpoint what really stands out, whether it's drug use or abuse in the home or financial struggles, we can actually go in and start using our professionals that we have on hand and build a program to start working directly into what is the trigger of the mental health issue and in that certain population. So data is going to be important, and that's where we're going to drive. That's where the Torres Sablan administration will drive where we have to concentrate and how we're going to curb that issue. We can do it in general, but it'll be more effective if we know why are these individuals going through what they're going through. They need to talk to us, and we need professionals, the teachers, and everyone around in all realms of our government, from education to healthcare to the legislature to the administration and government, to really reach out to these individuals so that they can tell us what they need to tell us so we can build a program that will work for them.
You know, to add on one of that, I was just thinking that if we were to get a specialist, a psychiatrist, that knows our culture. I think that's one thing that is very critical because each culture is different. But if we can get the data, know what these homes are going through, what their struggles are, then we have our own psychiatrists who understand our culture. What is the next generation? Are we going to repeat this to the next generation? And if we have this all together, I strongly believe that not just the Chamorro and Carolinian, but every other culture can emulate this program because it's catered specifically to a certain culture. So I look forward to that, and again, I will be make this a priority for me, and you'll be hearing that from our CDC and other programs.
Thank you, candidates. We will now move on to the next question pertaining to the topic of social service and food insecurity.
Candidates, your next question is, an individual's future earnings decrease the longer a person spends growing up in a struggling community. How will your administration help these families to increase potential earnings and decrease demands on the social safety net? Your 4 minutes starts now.
Well, thank you for that question. Very, very complex question. You know, we've moved into the issue of food insecurity and ensuring that our families can provide for their their families in their homes. We have in the CNMI we have rich resources. For example, in Tinian, we have cattle ranchers that have perfected the art of, you know, beef and whatnot, right? We have the farmers and fishermen here as well, and we're looking into right now there are individual entrepreneurs looking into aquaculture, right? Farming, fishing, aquaculture, and just the different resources that we have. If we can really build a program, kind of like a buy local program, right? And have our fishermen, our farmers, our cattlemen come together and share their strengths, right? We could get beef from Tinian. We could work with fishermen here in Saipan. In Rhoda, they have a rich growing population, crop growing population. We could really leverage all of these produce and all of this food so that we can make sure that we have a plan to have these products and produce on the shelves. Of course, you know, because our shipping and there's a lot of other factors that are in play, right? Being out here in this geographical location, it's more expensive to ship things over here, and that's what drives prices up. We get the we get the non-fair share of our gas prices rising, right, because of shipping. So we have to really acknowledge the nature of that. And if we acknowledge the nature of we don't have control over fuel prices and shipping prices, we can build self-sustenance here on our islands. And the way to do that is to really take advantage of the resources that we have. We have the co-ops, we have the Department of Agriculture that plants trees and really goes out and does some educational outreach for crops and farmers or whatnot. We have NRCS, which is our federal partners in providing for piggeries and different approaches to raise pigs or whatnot. So we have these resources in front of us. The Torres Sablan administration will look closely at that and leverage the programs that we have now, NRCS, we have the forestry, and really look into what we can do in addition to the current programs that we have so that we can build a program that would support self-sustenance in the case of food insecurity.
But the other end, on top of harnessing our local resources, is we need to grow our economy. We need to grow economy in order for us to give opportunity at any occupation, any and all occupation. For Rhoda, I've put $1 million in for their, what the Lieutenant Governor said, for farming, $1 million in Tinian for their ranching, $1 million for Saipan and Northern Island for fishing. That's just one aspect. We've opened up Garpan Market. to allow our farmers here. But at the end of the day, we do need to bring and increase our tourism, our economy, in order for everyone to have an opportunity to increase. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Table, are there any follow-up questions?
What about financial literacy for all community members, and how can your administration lead this issue? Your 4 minutes starts now.
In regards to financial literacy, and I touched a little bit on it when we were talking about mental health, financial literacy could be a trigger of mental health, right? Well, we do have the programs such as, like I said, CEDA, that provides for that. I remember as a PTSA president, and I was serving also in the Head Start Policy Council, I was a chairperson. I had a parent training, and I invited those that work at banks to provide a training for parents on financial literacy. Just the simple savings and looking at your paycheck and looking at where your money goes in the household. And that went a long way. Just having those professionals that are in the banking industry and in the finance industry talk to our parents and teach them and give them advices on where, how to spend their money. Give them advices and direct them to what kind of resources you have, right? Whether it's availing for food stamps, NAP, that our federal government provides us, right? Going to LEHAP and the Office of Energy to take advantage of the free light bulbs that they're giving out. All of these programs are here and are rolled out for our community. And it could really, really save our family, money. But what we plan to do and what we look into doing is having more financial literacy educational reach out from CEDA. We can have it from the Department of Commerce. But going into the schools is a perfect beginning and a perfect start, because that's where you see the struggles of financial literacy, and you see it with the students. So that's where we want to kind of start at, so we can improve that.
I can't wait to add on that one. I was just thinking here, right? No, I was just thinking, like, when you look at NMTI, plumbing, plumbing, carpenter, like, I went to school at Hobwood at 7th grade. I learned plumbing, a little bit, but carpentry, right? And I took that at 7th grade and 8th grade. I know how to handle that. But if we were to start literacy, financial literacy, start them younger, in 8th, 7th grade, all the way up, even college maybe, even. Because your parents may not be financially literate, but if your kids are, they're able to help you. I remember when I went to school in Boise, in our economic class, I never knew how important your credit score is. They never emphasize how important your credit score until I met my wife. But with these things, right, it is important to start and emphasize that at a younger age, so that that family, that household has the ability to learn from their kids. And then we have the Boost program. A lot of the applicants, maybe 90% of the applicants, fail because they're incomplete, misinformation. But we have an IT team who sits down with these applicants, spends hours with them to address their application and answer simple questions within the application. But I think that if we started at the education part, and then if we have programs, CEDA program or other program, we'll have town hall meetings and say any family that has issues or want to learn or want to teach for that matter, here's a program, here's what we can do to assist everyone here. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. So we will now proceed with our 15-minute intermission. Everyone is now allowed to stretch their legs, use the restroom, and we'll start the second part of our town hall after this short break. Thank you.
test.
We will begin in 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Welcome back, everyone. We hope you all had a nice break. We will proceed with the second part of our forum, and the next question is pertaining to the topic of public safety.
Candidates, the question is, there has been an increase in crime in recent months. The Office of Aging was broken into, and a poker arcade was robbed. What steps will you take to improve the safety of our community? Your 4 minutes starts now.
Thank you for that question. And we have seen in the newspaper that we've had these unfortunate circumstances. The Torres Sablan administration will look into really working closely with the Department of Public Safety and providing training, more training in fighting these crimes. Also seeing what kind of technology we can use to really deter these crimes that are happening. I remember there was a bill in the legislature that wanted to provide for video cameras at certain establishments, looking at poker establishments and other establishments where we can actually find out what went on if there's these circumstances that that happen. So, we'll work with the legislature to come up with some legislation that could curb and deter these unfortunate circumstances. But really putting in the funding to Department of Public Safety, DPS, and providing them with not only the manpower, but providing them with the training they need. I always had this idea of, when we have, say, attorneys or healthcare professionals, we fly in other doctors or whatnot to train. I had this idea of having that in public safety, maybe contracting out a retired detective from, say, LAPD or somewhere in the United States, just to really guide and give advice and teach our detectives how to really fight this crime and try to investigate and try to find the solutions or the culprits of these crimes. But providing the Department of Public Safety with the technology, the manpower, and training is something that we really have to look into. Again, there's also Neighborhood Watch, and really just asking our community members to be vigilant and to look out for each other. These are one ways that we can, we can deter these crimes happening. Gov?
We have been putting more resources to the Republic of Public Safety because we know how important the resources, new vehicles, like I said, more trainings. We've actually had several critical training, but because of pandemic, that kind of held back 2 years. But I want to commend DPS, from the commissioner to all the officers who continue to go out there every day to risk their life. Giving them more resources, definitely a number one priority, and continue to give them resources. But also we do need the community. In order for us to help assist and handle these kind of cases, we need the community to also share what they see. If you see something, say something. Because officers are called upon when it's needed. They're not there when the crime is committed. So everyone here, it is our job as a community to continue to share all the information that is needed in order for these crimes to be addressed. So again, more resources to DPS, more training to DPS, but not just DPS itself, all the law enforcement, whether you're customs, quarantine, everyone in the law enforcement agency needs the additional funding and collaborate with each other to tackle any crime that is committed here in the CNMI. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Table, are there any follow-up questions?
Candidates, crime might be a symptom, not a cause. What might be alternatives to DPS involvement? Your 4 minutes starts now.
One alternative that we need to look at is really trying to figure out why the crime happened. Again, I said it in the previous questions. We have to dig deep into the issue. Why did this person go in and steal from this establishment or from this house? We could link it to drugs, right? We could link it to just financial hardship. We could link it to, other things that they're going through. Like we bring up mental health again. So if we find out why these things are happening, we can really pinpoint what kind of programs we can put forth to curb these issues. Crime is very unfortunate, and it's rampant in other jurisdictions and other societies. But we have to really just be creative on how to deal with it, and it starts. Of course, it starts with our community. Our community members are around when these things happen, and then it gets pushed out to the Department of Public Safety and our law enforcement community, right? When the culprit is caught, we need to find out what triggered you to do that, right? Gather data from there if we catch these people. Is it drugs? And if 1 out of 10 burglars or if 10 burglars are caught and 8 of them say, well, it's drugs and all that stuff, we know where to put the resources at, right? So really trying to understand and dig deep into the issue is what we need to do. Gather data, gather the numbers. Why is this happening? There's always a reason for something happening. It's a reaction to something. And we have to find out what they're reacting to. And if we find out what they're reacting to, we can place and build more effective programs and place the resources where we need and we know that we need to place it, so that we're not placing the resources in somewhere that it's not gonna, it's not gonna work. So these are the things, and this is how I'm envisioning it to really try to stop these unfortunate events. Hope that answered the question.
Thank you, candidates. We will now move on to the next question pertaining to the topic of drugs in the CNMI.
Candidates. The question is, teenagers in the CNMI still frequently struggle with drug use. What are your plans as governor and lieutenant governor to decrease the risk of drugs being introduced to children and teenagers in a public setting? Your 4 minutes starts now.
Thank you for that question. As we all know, the governor launched the Hope Recovery Center, and is providing counseling and services to those that are battling with this, with drug use, right? We do have our fine professionals at the Division of Customs that are intercepting a lot of the drugs that are coming in. But we must not forget that some of this stuff is really stemming and starting from here, right? And we need to put the resources to the proper agencies for us to find out where these drugs are coming from. We know that they're being flown in or shipped in. Customs is doing their job. The officers at Customs are trying their best through canine units and stuff like that to curb that and to intercept that. Now we have to find out where are they getting it on island. These things are being made here. We have to provide the Department of Public Safety and also everyone in the drug task force, right, with the resources they need to find out where the source of this poison is coming from. And it's so unfortunate that it's getting to our kids. We have to make sure that the school system, PSS, even NMC, knows how to really identify these identify if you see that there's some behaviors that are unusual. This is a way to really kind of get in and provide assistance to these people that need help. And drug use is it's an illness, and we can cure it, right? We've had the Hope Recovery Center, and we have a lot of the nonprofit community organizations and community groups that are doing their part to really reach out to our individuals that are battling. But just putting the resources where they need to be with public safety, Department of Public Health, and just going out and educating the community on this certain unfortunate issue that we're going through is how we're going to determine what kind of programs and how to identify that this is present in our schools and present in our homes and society. So
I'd like to elaborate more on what Lieutenant Governor to-be said about putting resources. So there's two things here about approaching this kind of issue. Is one, the more we put resources on the borders, whether there's airport, seaport, or the mail, post office, the more resources we put there, the less resources we have to put in the community. That's why through customs, we've put so much resources, new X-ray, our K-9, we're working with the schools, that when the school principal calls our K-9, we have an excellent K-9 program here. And if you see drugs on our neighboring islands, as much as we have here, we are much better off because of what we have done to shorten the expansion of going out to the community. But we still need to do more. We still need to have more resources to give to these customs, to our borders. Because again, the more we put in to our borders, the less we have to worry about our students and our kids. But working with PSS, but also at home, we really need to emphasize at home as well, not to do drugs.
Thank you, candidates. Table, are there any follow-up questions? Okay. All right. We will now move on to the next question pertaining to the topic of the environment.
Candidates, the question is, climate change has been a global concern. As the leader of the CNMI, how will your administration combat this crisis? Your 4 minutes starts now.
thank you for that question. I just returned on Sunday from the Association of Pacific Island Legislatures. This consists of senators and leaders and traditional leaders throughout Micronesia and the Pacific Islands. And if there was one topic that really stood out in these meetings, it's climate change and the effects it has on our ocean and on our lands. And this is something that not only the CNMI is going through, or the Pacific Islands. Climate change is happening across all the countries, the United States, in Europe, and elsewhere. And we're following suit with the science, right? Looking into alternative energy and stuff like that that would curb the use of fossil fuels that study says affects the climate change. So really kind of what we can do as an administration is really just reach out and partner up and join into the programs and the organizations that are really experts in this. And at the meeting, at the APIL meeting, we met with several experts on the topic. It has always been a topic. And these are ways for our leaders to participate in these dialogues with scientists and other professionals that are well versed in this topic. So, we're going to have to rely on science, number one, and we're going to have to rely on the resources that are provided to us, by our federal partners and by other nonprofit NGOs that are really putting in their energy and efforts to study the effects of climate change, and we see that. If we can get a lot of that information and say create a section in the government, right, or create a task force that is specifically just their duty is to find out, follow the science, get to speak and communicate with those that are really well versed in climate change. That's how we're gonna develop programs and follow into programs that are proven by science in other jurisdictions, so that we can adopt those programs to benefit and curb the effects of climate change.
And I commend Lieutenant to-be because he's from the environmental CRM, no? DEQ. So, you know, when you talk about environment, it's really, it encompasses everything from our solar. What efforts have we done for solar? COC have reached out to max of 20% of solar. We just got a new energy power generator, 10 megawatt. It's in Korea, it's coming here. That'll allow bigger percentage of grid to allow more energy. Solar panel, PSS is already at 100%. I hope NMC will go into solar. That again addresses the whole aspect of climate change. I have a discussion with CRM Executive Director Region 9 and addressed our shoreline. We can see it eating in, and I've asked numerous times to do an assessment to the breakwater so that it stops our ocean, our shoreline, and also in Managaha. I mean, those are things that we continue to move forward. But there's so much thing about the environment that we have done and we will continue to do to protect the environment, because this is what we have here at the Sinamai. This is what we sell, Sinamai, because of our environment. And we need everyone to participate. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Table, are there any follow-up questions?
Candidates, so the question is, are there specific plans that your administration will commit to given the urgency relayed by scientists? And if so, how soon can that plan be put into action? Your 4 minutes starts now.
Thank you for that follow-up question. Again, we're always going to follow the science. Climate change is such it's a very complex issue. Everything that has been figured out, everything that has been brought forth in the data and analysis of climate change comes from really extensive research, extensive scientific analytical methods that go into identifying and determining the real effects of climate change. I worked in the water laboratory for CUC for about 13 years. I went on to manage the Bureau of Environmental Quality Laboratory, surveillance laboratory for 3 years before taking office. And through those, in those years, running these scientific analysis, I got to learn that it's really hit and miss. And you really have to follow a lot of other analytical studies that have been put forth by other scientists. Because science it's changing. So if we're able to create a group, like I said, the Torres Sablan administration will look into creating a task force or a section in our environmental agency to look specifically and follow the science of climate change. That's when we could come up with an accurate and effective plan or program. You know, we have to be honest with ourselves. We don't have the capacity. We don't have the scientists that are on the ground, the equipment, the technology. But what we can do is we can reach out and follow the science on where the best practices and best analysis and best methodology is being done. And we can get and learn from these scientists, learn from these experts, and use that to our advantage. So we need to reach out. Like I said, climate change is very complex. It takes a lot of research and a lot of thinking and a lot of just finding out who are the experts in these methods to find out what they're doing. So the only thing we can do is create a group, follow the science, get the information, learn from what they're doing, and start building a unique program here that would curb or take care of our climate change issues that are unique to the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands.
You know, that comment that Senator Vinnie said really hits home, because when you talk about climate change, every climate, it changes. But the effects that we have here is different than you see in Alaska, different than what you see in Florida. So what we need here is perhaps even create a special account specifically to address this. But we don't have those specialties here. Well, that's what I'm saying is that aside from just the science that we don't have, doing other things to subsidize climate change in itself. The erosion that we see here, writing letters, continue that dialogue that we need to have a breakwater. Those are the things, little things goes a long way. But if we have the capacity, that's when we know what is needed here in the CNMI. Because even here in Saipan, our climate change here, as close as it is in Rota and Tinian, it may change because of the structure itself on that island, especially if you go up north. It changes altogether. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. We will now move on to the next question pertaining to the topic of work development.
Candidates, your question is, how do you intend to confront the likelihood of a second wave of furloughs for the CNMI workers, given the expiration of ARPA funds? Your 4 minutes starts now.
So before we start talking about workforce, we have to understand what we need. And in order for any workforce to continue to have an opportunity, is to create a strong and vibrant economy. And right now we have our tourism. I have spent money on ARPA funds, understanding that tourism is not going to happen next month. That's why we've made so much investment to bring in our Japanese market, continue to bring in our Japanese market, our Korean market, and with MVA, I'm so proud that they just approved another destination, CNMI tourist source for Australia, and perhaps even Philippines and Vietnam. These are the things that when you bring in more economy, more flights to come in, not only that tourists will come in, but investors will come in. Now you have the workforce. Now we can have NMTI or other institutes, perhaps even NMC, say this is what we need to grow this economy. We need more plumbing, we need more engineers, we need all of this because the economy is growing. This is what we need. So by growing the economy, we're able to then now grow the workforce, and that's why we will continue to put resources to NMTI. And to your state of address, seeing PSS, NMC, NMTI, for the first time in the history, to have 3 education institutes coming together and address our workforce. That is kudos to all of you. And as a governor and lieutenant governor to be, we will be right there next to you guys, giving you the resources, because that's what we need in order for us to give opportunity to everyone, not just current employee, but everyone that calls CNMI home and those that wants to come here and make CNMI home.
And to add to that, you mentioned, the table mentioned how we're going to prevent furloughs, right? And the question from a lot of our community members is, what happens when ARPA's monies are done, right? The American Rescue Plan Act monies are done. What the governor's doing right now is really investing, using that money to invest in the economy, bringing in airlines, right? Inter-island airline service, trying to bring in more direct service from other entities or other countries, right? To bring in tourists. This is all about population. If you bring in a population, you have a greater pool of workforce. We need to create a balanced workforce. We're always going to need a healthy balance of our foreign skilled workers, right? And I say that because we come from a small island. Our population is about, I think, maybe 50,000, in between 50 to 60,000. The pool is very limited. So we need to build a program where we can find a balance between what we need from foreign skilled workers, how to build our own local capacity, and how that's going to work to sustain the future of this Commonwealth. So we need to invest in the economy and build the population. It all really relies on the population and the people that we have here on the island. More people that we have on the island, we have a bigger pool to choose from for workforce. But our plan is to build a balanced workforce, right? And really just realize that we don't have the pool, but we can build a balanced workforce from that. Thank you.
Plaza new airlines. When you see this all investment coming in, that will prevent furloughs because there's opportunities for new investment.
Thank you, candidates. Table, are there any follow-up questions?
Do you have any additional revenue streams for the economy besides tourism under your administration? You have 4 minutes, and that 4 minutes starts now.
Thank you for that question. And of course, you know, we're always thinking of alternatives and what we can have to complement our tourism industry. Remember, the tourism industry is a broad industry. It does not only encompass someone coming and going and shopping and eating at restaurants. What we want to look at, and what the governor and I have talked about, is to complement the tourism industry and to have an alternative source of revenue, is to look into medical tourism. In Asia, there are a lot of medical facilities that are looking to build, especially in islands like this, where there's, you know, a lot of serenity, which helps healing and stuff. There's I've actually spoken to, and we've spoken to someone who was interested in building a cancer treatment center here, right? So that they can bring in the patients and treat them here, right? So we gotta really think and look outside the box and look what tourism can bring us. Not only the traditional tourists, but tourism, we have sports tourism, we have medical tourism, we even have student tourism. And I remember when I was going to school at NMC, we had a really good population of foreign students coming and attending school at NMC. That is tourism. So, like we say, tourism is our main industry and it's our bread and butter. But there are a lot of components of tourism. So we need to capture all those components. We need to take advantage of all those components and try to bring them here, right? So that in the end, the services that they're trying to provide for their patients, as we're talking about medical tourism, we can also leverage those services for our local and residents that live in the CNMI. So that's one thing that we would push the Marianas Visitors Authority to look into, is try to maximize the capacity on all the tourism components, not only just your traditional tourists, but looking at every single thing: sports tourism, education tourism, and health tourism. These are things that we can really capture and use to have, you know, to sustain our economy and to bring in new revenues, right? To really help sustain our future of the Commonwealth. Thank you.
That's what Lieutenant to be said about tourism itself. If you look at the growth of CNMI, when Japanese tourists came in, they brought in their investment. When Korean market tourists came in, they also brought in their investment. So if we were to increase and expand that tourism to Australia, they would bring in an investment that perhaps something that we don't know exists here, or perhaps expand. But one thing that we have here is that CETA. CETA is created so that we can have what we want until an investment to come in. That's one program. The other program is cybersecurity. That's a new industry here. And cybersecurity, and through the things that has been so successful, they want to expand that cybersecurity. We have cannabis. Cannabis here, guys, we are advanced far more than we see in our neighboring island of Guam. We are far more successful, and it's still a growing industry. We still need a lot of learning to do, but it's an industry that can grow and will grow. Sports tourism, we've seen it in the past. We have major leagues from Japan and Korea. That's one thing that MVA and through NAMASA is working to bring that back here, because that's an investment here. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. We will now move on to the next question pertaining to the topic of infrastructure.
Candidates, the question is, it has been 4 years since Super Typhoon U2 and our schools are still suffering. How will you move more strategically and efficiently to improve and protect our educational infrastructure? Your 4 minutes starts now.
Thank you for that question. And we've come a long way from 2015, the devastation of Typhoon Solar. We've come a long way from 2018 with the devastation of Typhoon U2, right? And if that wasn't enough, we just experienced what none of us thought we would ever experience in our lifetime, that shot our economy to the floor with the recent COVID-19 pandemic. They were very unfortunate events, and they affected us in ways that we never could imagine. But there are efforts and there is energy that is being expended to get back our schools, right? I know the Board of Education, PSS, and NMC is a perfect testament to this. There are plans to build a state-of-the-art post-secondary college, and not only build a facility, but there's plans to build around a facility and build a college town. We are leveraging a lot of funds from the federal government and our federal partners, and we always thank them for that. So these things are going on. They can't happen overnight, but there are efforts that are taking place right now. Through the government leadership of the Torres administration, in the legislature right now, through your leaders in the school system, there are plans to build up our schools back to more resilient schools, right? I know that if you look at Hopwood, we were looking at, should we just patch it up and bring it back to what it was, or should we start looking into building more resilient schools, right? Schools that could really go longer into the future and be typhoon-proof and could be there, way into the future. So there are things happening right now, and that work is continuing. The infrastructure of our schools, and the governor could add to more, as he's in the front line of ensuring that there's funding that is coming from the federal government, and how these funds are being used. But we really rely on our educational leaders, our Board of Education, our Board of Regents, and our leaderships in PSS and NMC to really take charge and take front row in this, and let us know what our roles can, what we need to do. If we do it collectively together, we can get there too faster.
I think also it's important to understand the process. I think that's the most critical part here. And let me just give you an example. In Typhoon Sodilor, when that typhoon hit, right before the construction of Canatabla, on that, I believe it was August, we got the award, and right before ground break, Typhoon U2 hit. So you know the time frame. What we have with U2 and the pandemic is a perfect storm. Because on U2, we have FEMA prioritizing our needs, and we have testimonies here. I've worked so hard. We created the IRP, which is the Infrastructure Recovery Program, specifically to help NMC and PSS move their projects. We hired engineers, HPOs, and all the permitting agencies to assist, because we know that you don't have the capacity. But just understanding the bureaucracy of FEMA. When the pandemic hit, the whole country was on hold. Our priorities in this project was in the back burner. We are bringing that back through a good relationship with Bob Fenton and Bob Pesapane. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Table, are there any follow-up questions? Okay. All right. We will now move on to our miscellaneous category.
Candidates, your question is, what policies do you intend to enact in supporting our youth outside of the classroom? Your 4 minutes starts now.
Great question. We're really looking into, or what we should look into is the plans of PSS, for our students. After school programs, a lot of these community sports programs, right? Bringing back Little League, We have a very vibrant soccer league that's here. Just having a lot of these programs for our kids is where we want to be, and that's where we want to push. We're always going to look back through the pandemic and the storms and how they affected where we were going with a lot of the youth programs, and we had them. They were there. A lot of faith-based youth programs, a lot of interscholastic youth programs, and just a lot of other external youth programs that were in place for our youth. And I remember being a part of those youth programs, right, through the Little League and other interscholastic sports leagues. But I think what the Torres Sablan administration will look into is providing a lot of support to those community members and community groups that are looking into starting these youth programs, right? Whether it's sports or playing instruments, music, crafts, culture, practicing traditions, with the proas and the canoes. So these are programs that are out there, right? We just have to kind of really put more emphasis, put more support into it, and really try to drive our kids to take advantage of these separate programs, whether it's sports or culture, traditions, or crafts, or whatnot. But we can build that together, and everybody has a role to build that. The government has a role, the school system has a role, our community members have a role, and most importantly, our homes. Inside the home is where all of this stuff starts. And if we can create a healthy home for our kids, then we can create healthy programs outside of the homes. Thank you.
I'd like to add on that because first I also want to thank all of our sports athletes, all the sports organization out there from Namasa to Oka. Now there's a pickleball, that's opening up again. All those sports is an opportunity for our youth to join. But one thing throughout the summer that I was really impressed, and I was really happy, is the youth program. We hired over 600 youth throughout Sinamay, Saipan, Rodan, Tinyan. And these kids would come early, want to stay late, and they're so anxious to learn. And I've been working with some of the private sectors to say, hey, how about do a certain program for our youth after school? I'm willing to put in, I know we've talked about it with Lieutenant to be, to put in additional resources to work with our private partners and look at this on-the-job training. And even if they're 14, 15, these are the kids that really is eager to learn. And the more occupation we have to offer them, the better it is for them to have different experiences in life. Because sometimes we all grow differently, but giving opportunity to our youth in our private sector may something that they want, maybe not, or maybe trigger something that they want to be an entrepreneur. Again, going back to supporting our Boost program, offering our youth the opportunity that you can start something and that we are here to support you. So again, sports, entrepreneur, our culture, we need to start bringing back our culture. And I know that's something that people spend thousands of dollars to come here, to enjoy our environment, but also to see our unique culture. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Table, are there any follow-up questions?
Thank you for taking the time to share your thoughts with our student body and community. We will now start with the closing statements of the candidates. You have 3 minutes for your closing statement. Candidates, you may now present your closing statements.
Thank you. And I want to thank the ASNMC. I know, I think I heard you guys just went through your elections and stuff like that, so I want to congratulate the new leaders. You have an important role in your campus. I want to thank NMC, the leadership, the regents, and everybody for really giving us this opportunity, to share our thoughts, to share our vision, to share, what we have in store for the future of the Marianas. What I really enjoyed today is not only for the students and the viewing public to really get to know us candidates, but I really enjoyed, and I feel that it's important, is we shared concerns, we shared ideas, and we shared solutions to what we can bring to improve the quality of lives of our people, and that's what's important. We will build a great society together. We cannot do this alone. And I want to ask all of you to share with us the journey that we're about to partake in. We cannot do this alone, and this is not about me and Governor Ralph Torres. This is about all of you and all of the people in our Commonwealth, and to provide a better quality of health and sustain the livelihoods of the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands. So thank you for having us. It's really great. I really feel proud of being an NMC alumni right now at this moment. And NMC has given me the tools to bring me to where I am today. And I want to really shed light upon that. And if they gave me the tools to be where I am today, they're going to give all of you students the tools to get to where you want to be in the future. So thank you.
Well, you have a proud alumni here, a son of NMC. And if there's anyone to be more proud, it's not just the NMC, it's a proud son of the Marianas. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight is a night that we share our thoughts, or share what we've done in the past, what we continue to do today, and what we're going to do in the future. You have someone here, the LT2B and myself, born and raised here, love our CNMI, who truly cares, regardless what comes before us, whatever what rocks throws at us. We continue to wake up every morning to work for each and every one of you that co-CNMI home. I humbly ask all of you to please vote number 3 in the ballot for our Lieutenant Governor and myself. And I humbly ask that you vote all the Republican Party, because we as a Republican is one family, just like you do at NMC. You are one family. When something needs help, you guys all together work together to make things happen. The Republican Party works together as a family. So I humbly ask all of you, and let's continue this progress. Let's continue. And again, you have 2 gentlemen here who truly loves the Marianas. Undankles dos masi, nguaizam za todo.
We have one more chance for applause. One more chance for applause. So thank you, candidates. I'd like to close this forum by thanking all of the candidates and the NMC students for their participation in our town hall forum. I would also like to thank all of the volunteers for serving this event, as well as the NMC IT team for setting up the live stream. All of your efforts and contribution to this event is greatly appreciated. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night.